أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We move on to our second lecture. Brother Ramiz. Brother Ramiz needs no introduction. He's been with us many times before, and so I'll just let him get on and do his talk on sincerity.
Alhamdulillah, wa afdal salatu wa tamu salami ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa la. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, what I want to mention about sincerity is I'd like you all to part from the walls that you are resting your backs on, because you're all very young, mashallah, and come and join us here in the front, please, especially all of these brothers, The second thing is that what I noticed when Brother Omar was speaking earlier, and I was thinking about my talk about sincerity, is brothers were talking and using their mobile phones. And it's not something having a go like an older brother. It seems like that because I am an older brother, I am having a go at you. But put your phones away, inshallah, and try to benefit from what's being said. And it's only respectful to the speaker and the etiquettes of adab of learning and the etiquettes of acquiring knowledge, inshallah. So Al-Ikhlas, regarding Al-Ikhlas, the hadith regarding this is the hadith of Tamim ibn al-Aws al-Dari radiyallahu anhu. إن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الدين النصيحة قلنا لمن قال لله ولكتابه ورسوله ولأئمة المسلمين وعامتهم. This hadith is mentioning the Sahaba asking about what is nasiha and to who. They said to Rasulullah, I asked, to who is this nasiha, to this ikhlas, this advice to? The thing is sincere advice. To who? So to Allah, to His books, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to the leaders, and to the Muslims and knowledge people at large. I'm not going to go through the whole thing specifically and in detail. We have time for that. So I'm going to run through a few things, and then we're going to discuss sincerity as a general form. So, sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to have the correct belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and at-tawheed. A person muwahid is to have the correct tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first and foremost thing that comes to mind here is how to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People say, well, I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how do you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Not how did you come to believe in Him. Allah yahdi man yasha, Allah guides whom He wills. Some people believe that Allah is everywhere. And Brother Omar mentioned earlier that when He said that Allah is next to you, he said not physically, not literally, but He's with you by knowledge. But some people actually believe that Allah is everywhere. So they end up worshipping everything. Just like the people in Hinduism, they worship everything. The same, some Muslims do the same thing. They may stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day, saying Fatiha 17 times a day, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, but yet they go to the graves and they may be asking the graves for things. They may be worshipping statues made from plastic or stone or glass or whatever it may be. So where is the sincerity in a person that stands in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and says, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, only you we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and only you we ask for help. Yet they leave that and they go to the grave and they knock on the grave or they ask the grave and they say, Ya so-and-so, give me this and give me that. At the same time is the sincerity of not ascribing partners unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the same regard. This is why it's important to have sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, show sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that Allah will guide you to the truth. It's okay to tell people and say, yes, I want guidance, but your heart may not want it. You have to, your whole being must want it. And please remind me that if I forget to mention, to touch upon Brother Umar talking about Tahajjud at night time, where Allah descends to the last heaven, to the first heaven and last third part of the night, and asks who's asking him to give him, and who's asking for forgiveness from me, so I can forgive. So I want to elaborate on a little bit, inshallah. So, and also to purify our relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like tazkiyah, to purification of ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not just we are in salah, in the namaz, and we're praying, and as soon as, it's funny, that as soon as you say Allahu Akbar, all sorts of thoughts come to your mind. And this is the duty of one jinn that comes to you to disturb you. And this is why Rasulullah said that if you have this disturbance, that you spit 3 times to your left, and you do ta'awud Allah, a'udhu billahi min shaitan rajim. I don't mean spit literally, but you act like you're spitting. And this is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on us. He knows the way He created us, and it's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why some brothers have whispers that we end up having these thoughts from shaitan, which is whispering to us all the time to disturb us in our prayer or in our sleep or in our lives, or whatever we may be doing. And also to implement the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but firstly to implement it on our own selves, and implement it in our own homes. Because everyone is asking for Sharia, and what Sharia, alhamdulillah, no problem. It will come when Allah is ready for it. And it's not going to come, incidentally, I'm going to digress for a second, it's not going to come by going in the street and shouting Allahu Akbar for the time appointed that when Israel was bombing Gaza. They still are, the news is not telling us. And it's like when a person puts the stick inside the ant's nest, and there's a reaction. And it's exactly what we Muslims do. Victory is not going to come by shouting Allahu Akbar in the streets. It's going to come from changing yourself. When you change yourself, others will change around you, meaning your family. When your family change around you, you'll be an example for others. And they will change, the community will change, and then the ummah will change. It doesn't mean that there's no collective mujahada and really doing, struggling comprehensively. We're not like, mashallah, Tablighi brothers who say we have to be ready first before we go and do anything else. Because if I say to the brothers, if that's the truth, if someone came into your house, you're not going to say to them, look, I'm not ready to be man yet, just take what you want. You're not going to do that, are you? So we can't say this thing, well, we have to get ourselves ready first before we do whatever we do, etc., etc. But it's important to note that victory comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it will only come. Allah can change all of our situation overnight, like this. A blink of an eye. The same as He can create and He can take our life in a blink of an eye, He can change the whole ummah with a blink of an eye. But it's up to us. And you will find that most of those people who are going out there, maybe they're sincere, inshallah. Half of them don't pray. They're too tired to get up for Fajr after screaming and shouting in the streets. Won't do Tahajjud. Hijabs are half falling off. Beards are like Bollywood. Trousers are skinny trousers hanging down from their backsides. And then you got some guy from America coming, and sisters chasing him like they're chasing the boy bands of. I mean, you want sincerity, then you have to look at what really what the state of we are in. You have sisters on TV, Muslim TV, and Islam channel, whatever, wearing makeup and etc. and it's all fine. And no one's saying anything. No one is speaking up against the reality of what is happening now, rather than the reality of our imagination and how we want things to be. There's a big difference, a vast difference of how we want things to be, and they are in our imagination maybe, and that's why we're not doing anything in reality. But the reality is what's in front of us that we need to sort it out. We need to sort that out. You see a sister wearing makeup, you have to tell her, sister, no, it's not allowed. You're dishonoring your husband, or your brother, or your father, or your granddad, or your uncle. You're dishonoring your family. And now you have like your sisters wearing skinny jeans and they have ice cream hijabs. Okay. Well, I don't know what else to call it. I'm not having a go at them. Sisters in the camera, I'm not having a go at you. I'm just giving the reality, because that's what it looks like. If you look in the mirror, I mean, you're standing there, you look in the mirror, and it's like you're not caring about covering here. You're making sure your hijab is bigger than everybody else's. And I don't know how that is. And this is a plot of shaitan. Misguiding is said to look pretty. But then if you look deeper, and I digressed a bit, I'm sorry about it. But if you look a bit deeper than that, it's about lack of confidence. It's about self-esteem. It's about wanting to be loved. It's about wanting to be, appreciated and accepted and having significance. That's exactly what it is. And now I blame the fathers and I blame the brothers who are out there trying to look good for the non-Muslim girls, and they're not even giving their sisters enough love and their daughters enough love, so they're going to find it somewhere else. And they're not, sisters not going to go out there and behave like, and inshallah, like the non-Muslim girls, but they are looking for love and they're looking for appreciation and looking for what they're not getting at home. And this is a serious thing. So, first and foremost, sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to take a look at ourselves, and I mention it again, I mention it every time I'm here, is looking in that mirror and seeing where you're at. Where you're at with your salah, where you're at with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where you are with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are you from the Sunnah of Rasulullah properly? Or you're just going ad hoc. You hear a bit here and you hear a bit there, and you watch your YouTube here and you're doing this and here and that's it, bits and pieces. Which is good, don't stop that, and keep learning. YouTube is a wall of information. And the internet. But you've got to be careful of what you're watching and what you're listening to and what you're reading. It's very important. And sincerity, if you're sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will never lead you astray. Allah is not oppressive. If you are sincere, Allah will not lead you astray. So the question arises is those people who are Ahlul Bid'ah, people of Bid'ah. Okay? Like people, for example, they like I said, they stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, yet they go to the graves. Are they misguided? Yes. And I'm not saying it to, they're deviant and I'm on the best group and I'm better than you. And I'm not saying it in that way. I'm saying it, ad-din al-nasiha, in the sense that the deen is sincere advice, I'm advising. How can one stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yet go to the grave and ask from the grave? Does it make sense? Or you go to a pir sahib, they give him £50, and mashallah, it's a good business. And he'll write you something on the ground, ta'weez, and put this on your arm, that will protect you. The question arises, is how is that piece of paper, fold down a piece of leather, he makes it leather because he's got justified £50, isn't he? So he's got to put in leather. A piece of leather for £1, £49 profit. Wraps it up and he puts it there, so this will protect you. So Allah doesn't protect. So you've lost your trust and tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you put your trust in a piece of leather. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, anyone that puts their trust in me, I suffice him. That means you're not reading the Quran, you're leaving everything Allah told you to do, and you're running around trying to seek some help from a human being. It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So we need to purify our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to implement the Sharia in our lives, as we mentioned. First in our own lives. Okay? You don't try to change anybody. Okay? If you're giving advice to somebody, he doesn't take it, you get upset. Your intention, there's something wrong with it. Think about it. If you give someone advice, or you're trying to guide someone, you're trying to give information, and they don't accept it from you, and you get upset, then your ego is attacked by their defense, and you're getting defensive. So you have to purify your intention. You just tell someone the information. As Allah says in Surah Yasin, all you do, pass on the information, that's it. How they respond to you bears no in relation to how you gave the da'wah. You just give the information. Allah says this, Jazakallah khair. Oh yeah, but you must be deviant because you're not accepting what I say, and blah, blah. Who are you to give dalil? Just give the information. Allah will check the hearts of that person. If it's sincere, guide, inshallah. If they get upset, oh, actually I gave da'wah to so-and-so yesterday and he denied the Quran. No, he denied you maybe. And Allah made him deny you because your intention wasn't correct. And he said this is vital. And following the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, a lot of people we know that say they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I love Allah. And let's look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran regarding about love. Allah says, say, He tells Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to tell us, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So Allah says, say, Muhammad, that tell them that if they love me, to follow you. And this is not me saying this. This is Allah who created each and every one of us here. He's saying that if you say, I love Allah, I love you, Allah, you will see your degree of love in the way you follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Simple mathematics. It's a formula, isn't it? It's a formula. Then Allah will love you. Why? Because you are following the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah doesn't say follow me. SubhanAllah, look at the honor. And this is sincerity to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's giving honor to a human being, not just an ordinary human being. Rasulullah, the messenger of Allah, Habibullah, Khatam al-Nabiyyin, the best of all the Anbiya and the best of creation, is saying, this is my servant. If you love me, it doesn't say follow me, follow me, follow him. Then I will love you and I will forgive you. You want forgiveness? Follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah. Don't go this wishy-washy dancing and prancing, Allahu, 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 and break dancing and nonsense, all this. Seriously, you're taking the mickey of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, I've seen some videos that are just crucial. You should be in the charts. I mean, it's ridiculous. This way he's dead now. This Nazim character. Sheikh Nazim, yeah, he's practically my family. But in regards to his way of deen, subhanAllah, you see some young boys in front of him dancing. It's break dancing. That's all I can say. That's all it is. I'm not saying to make laugh, but I'm laughing because it ridiculously angers you. You just, I mean, how is that saying? How is that following Rasulullah? Can you imagine Umar al-Khattab doing that? Any Sahaba? They couldn't wait to get up to do tahajjud. They couldn't wait to do jihad. These people can't wait to put their best clothes on and dance and prance around. So being sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also being sincere to His books. And I'm talking about, when I say books, so what do you mean? The Injil? Yes, but the original, not the one that we have now. The same way that people say, well, is there tasawwuf, is there Sufism in Islam? So yeah, Allah taught it takhawuf, to gain the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, try and get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by fear. Because we don't fear Allah enough. So you gain that. And there is tasawwuf, if you like, takhawuf, and that's following the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is a way, but the Sufism now, the least of it is bid'ah. The least of it. You can't go any more, less than that. The least of it is bid'ah. And the highest of it is kufr. You're not going to find any Sufism that is not tainted with some kind of outside influence or by the desires of people. And remember, I'm sure some of them are very sincere. And sincerity can misguide you too. Sincerity without knowledge, you can be misguided. The same way of not having knowledge, being in kufr and not having knowledge, the same as having sincere and not having knowledge. A little knowledge can be dangerous. If a person's sincerity is a lot, and his knowledge is a little, that's a dangerous combination. It's having a balance on everything. At the same time, just to balance it out, I will mention again that uncle who's on the front line of the masjid for the last 50 years, and all he sees is the back of the imam's head for the last 50 years, and you see his head, and he wipes his eyes when he hears the name Muhammad. They follow a weak hadith. But do you think he's doing it because he hates Allah? Do you think he's doing that because he hates Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He's doing it out of sincerity. It may not be the right way to do it, because da'if hadith or whatever it may be. But it shows something that the person is not doing because he hates something, but he's just lacking in knowledge. And this is why gaining knowledge is vital. And seeking knowledge is fard on every single male and female Muslim. Doesn't mean you have to all have to be mufassirin and muhaddithin and etc. etc. You just have to learn about how to pray properly, the sunnah and the fard of the salah, the sunnah and the fard of the wudu, so you don't get confused. The shaitan doesn't confuse you. Or did I start on my right hand? Did I start on my left hand? Let me start again. Some of us, they've got bad wiswas and they're taking 40 minutes to make wudu. And they lift their leg up in salah and they say, Assalamu alaikum. They say, I lifted my leg up so I must have broke my wudu. And I'm feeling bubbles that are going down between, and they feel that they broke their wudu. Because there's lack of knowledge. So Allah, believing that the Quran is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the books are not created. They're not the creation of Allah. They're the speech of Allah, the kalam of Allah. They are the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have to understand this. The people of the rationale will make you believe that the Quran is created. And if you don't know your deen properly, don't have your knowledge properly, they have a good argument. And you'll believe it. This is why the Prophet ﷺ did not allow some of the Sahaba to read the Injil at the time. Because they weren't strong in Tawheed. They did not understand the Quran properly. And once they knew their deen, understood the Sunnah and the Hadith, etc., they said, go read it, because you won't get affected by it. The same way that when you're going to go out there, all these dawah things come out now. Dawah mission here and the dawah man, and alhamdulillah. Good. Good on the brothers. Allah bless them for all the work they do. Huh? And I'm sure they have knowledge for it. But some of the brothers who are out there have no knowledge. You get confused. They will confuse you. They will confuse you. So before you go out there and give da'wah, get the information. Make your 2 rak'ah and ask Allah for sincerity, for sincere what you're doing. Because you can be misguided. I know brothers that have come back confused and think they've lost their deen. They're in conflict. They're in cognitive dissonance. They're in conflict. Their brain's telling them the truth, and yet they had a point. And they can't back it up. They've got nothing from the hadith and nothing from the Quran to back it up, so they're leaning towards what the person is saying to them. So we have to be sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding following the book by practicing the Quran. Read it. It's better to read small parts of it and practice those small parts than read it all, just leave it on the shelf until Ramadan. As you learn it, try to practice it, implement it in your life. Implement it on yourself first, before you try to implement it on someone else. It's important. You learn the Quran. The best of you is you learn the Quran and propagate the Quran. But with the hadith, with the tafsir, with the understanding of what that Quranic verse is. Implement it on yourself first, you understand it first. For example, people say, is vinegar halal? Generally speaking, vinegar is halal, but it can be haram. If the vinegar you're using has been expedited by forcing the potential vinegar to go through the process, vinegar goes through a process of fermentation to alcohol anyway. But if you're forcing it, it can be haram, as some scholars say. But if you smash up apples and leave it there to aerate and oxidize, become alcohol, and through natural fermentation becomes vinegar, especially apple cider vinegar, that's a natural process. So the point I'm making is there's always a difference of opinion on these things. But before you take an opinion, you have to understand it completely and understand why you're taking this opinion, not that one. And I don't mean everyone here should just take, when someone tells you something that the majority of the scholars say this is haram. That's a difference of opinion. I'm going to take the weaker scholars. You've got no right to do this. And then this is a trend that's going around. Yeah, but there's difference of opinion. There's different opinion on everything. Does not mean that you have to pick and choose what you want to choose. You follow the Jumhur ulama, you follow the majority of the scholars. And if there's any doubt in things, just leave it. If you find yourselves trying to seek something that is going to justify what you want to do, then check your intention behind it. check your intention behind it. Like you're seeking a fact, you're seeking a sheikh that's going to say to you, yes, this is okay for you. But before that, you've already spoke to 50 sheikhs, and everyone said to him, no, you can't do it. You found one sheikh saying, I've got the opinion. Yeah, like I said, act by the book, and do not be like those people, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِبَعْدِ الْكِتَابِ وَتَكْفُرُونَ بِبَعْدِ. You know, you take from some part of the book and you reject some of the book. You have a plate of food, you say, Mum, I'm going to eat this bit, I'm not going to eat that bit. Allah, I understand this bit, but because I don't understand this bit, I'm going to reject it. So we try to intellectualize it. Being sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having iman in Allah, His books, the angels, the messengers, the divine destiny, the good and the bad of it, and Yawm al-Qiyamah, is about saying to yourself and implementing in yourself that you believe in yourself, that you feel in yourself, that you know in yourself that whatever Allah tells you in the Quran, you're going to practice it the best of your ability. For example, someone wants to lose weight. It's a funny example, but it's come to my head. So you want to lose weight, okay. Take some apple cider vinegar, which is a very good fat burner, by the way. I like to promote it. Go to the gym 3 times a week, or exercise 3 times a week, half an hour each exercise. Raise your heart rate over 120 for 20 minutes at a time, 3 times a week. Okay? And cut down on sugar. What do they say to you? But I don't like to do that. And he's a 30-year-old man. No one likes to do anything. For example, it's like saying, I don't like to pray. For example, but it's not about liking something. It's whether you like it or not, you just have to do it. But Baba, I don't want to clean my room. I don't care, you don't want to or not. You go and clean your room. It's as simple as that. But imagine a person who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't guided as much as somebody else, for example. For whatever reason, Allah knows best. And he says, well, if I don't pray, and I don't do this and I don't do that, then I'll end up in the hellfire for a little bit. Allah will take me out. So you say to him, okay, so if that's your philosophy, then give me your hand and try the light and see how long you can hold the light or the fire on this dunya. If you really, really believe that you can handle the hellfire for whatever time appointed you're in there, and you don't mind that, then see how long you can take this fire. You need to wake people up to their own nonsense and to their own egotistical nafs. You have to wake people up. Don't be rude to them, you have to wake them up. And this is the same way where you don't like to do something, you must do it. Make dua for me, I'm lazy. No, you're not lazy, you don't want to do it. Why do you pray Jummah? You don't pray 5 daily prayers. Because it's fard. You don't pray 5 daily prayers. Make dua for me, I'm lazy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. If you're praying Jummah because it's fard, no, you're praying Jummah because it's bloody well convenient. That's why you're doing Jummah. You're hoping that that's enough for me. And my question is, where did you get your deen from? Praying Jummah only, and then becoming pious in Ramadan, you're making your own deen. And Allah, may Allah keep you and give you knowledge Friday to Friday, so you can come out of that stupor and pray your 5 daily prayers. It's not laziness. You don't ask them to make dua for you to eat or drink or sleep and have babies. Or get up when the alarm goes up for work. You're up. Oh, I'm going to be late for work. I've got to please my boss. Otherwise I don't get paid. When it comes to Fajr, I'm just giving the reality. This is the reality. This is the reality. If you set your alarm to go to work and you get up, as soon as it goes off, you're going to catch that train, 7:15, to make it for 9 o'clock. If I'm late again, I'm going to get the sack. then you're fearing something of this dunya. You're fearing a human being of this dunya. When the alarm goes to Fajr, you're not fearing Allah enough to get on Fajr. This is the reality. This is how you have to, as it has the yardstick or the measure, or I'll give my age away now, the meter stick. The meter stick, how to measure your sincerity. It's very simple. I can't make it any simpler than that. And being sincere to Allah's Messenger as well is to know Him and understanding His life. How many of us, how many of you, how many of us read the Seerah of Rasulullah, what he went through? Yes, we know bits and pieces and everything else, but when you read, and one of the good books to read is the Al-Ikhlas, the Sealed Nectar. It's not a basic book, but it's not a difficult book either. But it's a fantastic read. Anyone that wants to rejuvenate their history, because why? Allah tells you and sanctions what to do in the Quran. Does it tell you how to pray? No. He leaves that for Rasulullah. So the Quran tells you what to do. The Sunnah shows you how to do it. And the Seerah shows you how it was done, for example. And it goes all hand in hand. And we all say, yeah, I love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but do you really love him? I like going off tangents, I'm sorry, because things come to my head that I have to give examples for. Do we really love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Do we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yes, by degree. Do we fear Allah? Yes, by degree. Do we love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Yes, by degree. We don't fear Rasulullah, we just love him, inshallah, by degree. Alright, let's give a few examples. Uncle, I love you for the sake of Allah. Yes, beta, I love you too for the sake of Allah. But you can't marry my daughter because you're black. It's a reality. You know my son, I love you for the sake of Allah. You're a good boy. Don't be bad boy. You're a good boy. But uncle, there's a brother, I have a good brother, and he wants to get married. No problem, bring him tomorrow. Bring the brother, you sit down, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife. You can cut the atmosphere with a knife, it's so thick. And I know why. The uncle has laid his eyes on the brother who's black, and he himself said, I can't wait to get these two out of my house. And I hope my daughter's sick, so she doesn't come down. This is a reality. Or, not only, let's leave that racist issue. Oh, is the boy from Pakistan? Yes. Where's he from? He's a Mirpur. No, I'm sorry. I'm a Chaudhry. That's not going to happen. Or he's a Rai or a Gai or Nai, whatever, he's a Baba. It's not going to happen. This is a reality. Where's the sincerity? I love you for the sake of Allah. You can't marry my daughter because you're black. I love you for the sake of Allah. You can't marry my daughter because I know you're from my country, but you're not from my village. It's not going to happen. Allah tells you in the Quran that He created you from a single male and female. And He made you into nations and tribes to recognize each other, not despise each other. And most honorable in my eyes, Allah says, is the one who has the most taqwa. And you're saying, no, Allah, I know better than that. I know better than the taqwa, which is that I love my country more than I love you. And that's the reality. You do. I don't care what you say. The implication of you not allowing someone to marry your daughter because of a different race, a different caste, a different culture, a different planet, wherever it may be, the implication there is that Allah's telling you one thing and you believe in something else. Why? Because you have a disease in your heart. And Allah is allowing you to continue with that disease in your heart because you are not sincere enough. But if you are sincere enough and you forced yourself to allow your daughter to marry the brother who is from a different caste, race, whatever, there's a Muslim brother praying 5 times a day, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, he's even Hafid Quran. But just because he's not from your same village or from the same country or whatever it means, you force your daughter to say, it's okay, you like him, marry him. You don't have to like him. But Allah will clear that from you and you will raise up a notch. Allah will raise you up to a different degree of sweetness of Iman because you've gone against your nafs. The same way that we do mujahid against our nafs, we do tazkir, we do islah, that when there's a situation to do a sin and you don't, Allah raises you up a degree. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. But we're too busy with our disease because it makes us feel proud and arrogant. And it's a good thing because we think we've got control and power. But really, I pity them uncles. With all due respect, uncles, with all due respect. And I've got to say, there's a video going on, they may see me and say, what's this Wahhabi talking about? And I'm not taking the mickey, I'm making laugh. I'm just saying, it's the reality of it. It's advice. Advice for those who jump up and down like monkeys in the zoo, astaghfirullah, that's what it is, saying that you're worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to worship Allah, there's thousands of ways to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It won't give you time to jump up and down. You don't have time. If you worship Allah with all the fun and then all the sunnah you can do, all the voluntary fasts, all the voluntary prayers, voluntary fasts that you can do, you won't have time to do any bid'ah. You won't have time to do any nonsense. There'll be no time whatsoever. So go back and follow the Quran and Sunnah. Follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah. Don't say, yes, we love Allah, we love Rasulullah, but yet you jump up and down. Ask yourself, did Rasulullah do this? Did the Sahaba do this? Did they celebrate the birthday of Rasulullah? Do you have any hadith? Do you have any evidence that Umar al-Khattab bought a cake and gave it to Rasulullah and said, happy birthday to you? Or anything to that effect? No. So where did it come from? They give logic. Well, because I don't want to hear it. It's not from the Sunnah. And you're going to be afraid. Being afraid of something bringing something into the deen. You're going to be afraid of ascribing something to Rasulullah that He not even said to you to do or not to do. And it's vital. When we think about the Sunnah, how many of us are doing 12 Sunnah Muqtada every day? The 2 before Fajr. Which is better than the whole world of what's in it. The 4 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, 2 after Isha. Anyone that does 2 rak'ah after Isha, we've written down of those in Jannah. Does that mean tahajjud? Does that mean qiyam al-layl? Anyone that prays 2 rak'ah at night after Isha is written in for Jannah. That's all you need to know. Don't start thinking, does that mean tahajjud? It's too good to true, you see. We want to complicate things. It's like when the Jews were asked to sacrifice a heifer. They said, what size? How young? What colour? Blah, blah. Sacrifice a heifer, young. Just do what Allah says. Which brings me on to tahajjud. You have to put it on Allah. Allah wants you to put it on Him. Ask Allah. Ya Allah, you told Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you told the best of creation to tell us that you descend to the first heaven. How? Is up to your majesty. On the last third part of the night. And you said to Rasulullah to tell us that you are asking, who is here asking me to forgive him? And who is here asking me for things for me to give him? Allah, here I am. My family are asleep. There's no one around. Allah, it's just me and you. I can't get more sincere than this. Allah, I can't do it. I'm just a meek, insignificant human being. And I'm here, Allah. And this is it. Just Think about it, feel it. You feeling what I'm feeling? And just imagine it. You're standing, you're at night time, there's no one to, you go to the masjid, and sometimes you want to come to the front and pray. The shaitan plays games with you. So don't pray there because people watch you. And then you may adjust yourself. If you go to the back, you could have committed shirk. Because you've stopped doing a good action for the sake of a human being. That's how deep it is. You're in the street, and your eyes gaze upon a girl, or a woman, or something you're not supposed to look at. And you gaze, but then the shaitan says to you, move away, don't look at her because people think you're perverted, or you are ogling, or she may think you're ogling, or whatever it may be. So you turn away. How many sins is that? 2. Allah Alam, whatever Allah wants to count it as. 1 for looking too long, and 2 for turning away for the sake of a human being. Not because you didn't look at things, didn't say astaghfirullah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you say, Allah, I'm going to put it on you, Allah. You're my Lord. You're the one who created me, and I'm here insignificant. I have feces in my stomach. I get sick. I'm nothing. But yet, you're giving me significance. You're giving me significance. 1, because you've taken me from darkness into light. And I thank you for that, Allah. And now I have to ask you that I'm in difficulty. I want forgiveness. I need this, Allah. I want children. I need money. But only give me children if they're not going to be a fitna for me. Only give me 100,000 or £1 million. Because it's not going to be a fitna for me. You ask him, it goes deeper and deeper. But the point here is, you're showing sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? There's no one there. How many of us here have woken up in the middle of the night, and you are awake? You are awake. Not like, and you're like, blurry-eyed. You can't see anything. You are awake. You don't say to yourself, I need to go to the loo, I need to make myself a sandwich and a glass of milk. But something says to you, get up and make 2 rak'ah, and Allah will forgive you. Get up and make 2 rak'ah, and I will give you what you are asking for. And you think about this. If you have that fortunate situation that this happens to you, subhanAllah, this is the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A rahmah. And the hadith states that whoever gets up in the middle of the night and he makes a good wudu and he prays 2 rak'ah and he wakes his family up and they pray together, Allah has rahmah on the house and blesses the house. So we have to understand this. The other sincerity is to the leaders, but I'm going to leave that for another time because it's going to be that's something I want to get into a bit more in detail and to the leaders. And we'll stop there. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah?
Questions?
It doesn't have to be on the topic. Anything you wish to answer, you can answer. Something that's bothering you, that you're asking for something.
It's not related to the topic.
No problem, sure.
As you know, a lot of our Muslim brothers, they are trapped into this mortgage business, buying houses on mortgages. Some people say, well, you can have one. Some people say, well,
Islamic mortgage or non-Muslim?
Just
mortgage.
high street mortgage.
Yeah.
Because some people are of the opinion Islamic mortgages cost more in effect than the non-Islamic mortgages, high street mortgages.
This question was asked to me the other day, and I asked the person, what is the illah? What is the reasoning and what is behind it? What's the justification for it? And they said, well, if you are renting, you're wasting your money. But you're buying a service. You're buying a product. There is no situation that I can think of that will make getting a mortgage allowable for you. Because if you can afford a mortgage, you can afford to rent. So the real reason is that you want to own a house and investment. I'm not saying you, saying generally speaking, investment. And to let you into a little clue, the house is never yours. The first charge is on the bank. The bank owns it. And you're paying interest for the first 15 years of that, or 10 years of that duration of you're not paying your loan back. You are paying interest. And God forbid tomorrow anything happens to you, how are you going to pay that back? Oh, then I've taken out life insurance, which gets you more into problem. There isn't a situation. If tomorrow this government says no more renting, everybody has to buy, then the ulama will make some kind of fatwa and something else. Allahu Akbar. Then we have no, it's like for car insurance. It's haram, but you have to do it. You've got no choice. It's the lesser of the two evils, I suppose. You run someone over in this country and you kill them without insurance, they're going to lock you, throw the book at you and lock you and throw away the key. So we'll have to think about that. Islamic mortgages now, on the other hand, we have to look into it more deep. I don't know. I'm not a faqih. I don't know anything about it. The only simplistic thing I can say is that there are some mortgages out there that I've heard that, for example, this is a £100,000 house. We wished 100,000, but £100,000 house, for example. Yes, the Islamic mortgages, they want 20% mortgage. For a £300,000 house in reality, you need a £60,000 deposit. And that's a lot of money. At 60,000, you leave the country. You leave better than some other country. A £60,000 deposit. For example, you buy that. You give £60,000 deposit. So you own £60,000 of that house. The bank owns 240,000 of it. So far, so good. Right? Now, they say to you, right, you have to pay back £1,200 a month. Fine, no problem. £500 a month goes towards paying for the loan. But you are actually paying for the loan. And you're buying back more of the house. So far, so good. The other £700, for example, goes to the bank. That's interest. No. They're charging you rent whilst you're in their house, because they own more of it than you do. But you're buying it. The only stipulation, and the contract makes it haram as well, can make it. The Prophet said no two stipulations must be on the same contract. The only stipulation that should be on the contract, if you can't pay, we'll give you time to pay. If you can't, we'll do some negotiations. That's really the gist of it, Islamic. I can't think of anything else that can put on that piece of paper that you signed. And then if you can't, really can't, and the bank wants to be a bad boy, they'll say to you, well, we'll sell it, which you can. And by the way, some of the Islamic mortgages I'm talking about, you can pay more than what they say to you, and you can pay the whole lot off without penalty. With a normal mortgage, they want a penalty, you can't pay more, you can't sell it within 5 years, and blah, 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 all the money from you. You're an asset. And then you sell it, what you owe, give to the bank, and what's left over is yours. And you sell it any time. That is the gist of it. That's how it should be, really, in that sense. But there is no person that can justify, I'm getting a high street mortgage, because the reasoning is paying someone to live in their house, rent, is wasting my money. It's not wasting your money. Wasting money is you smoking. That's wasting money. So, not you, I'm just saying. Allahu Alam, Allah knows best of it. Any other questions? Yes, brother.
In the last 10 days,
No.
10 days of
Jazakallah khair, reminding us.
So what advice would you give to the brothers? And there's also saying that you should fast these last 10 days.
No, this is the same. For example, Allah makes it easy for those who Allah wants to make it easy for. Sincere people. He gives time and chances and opportunities to increase our iman, forgive us of our sins, get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the greatest punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't that He may take your eye or your limb from you, is that you try to get close to Him, He doesn't allow you to, because of your sins. So it's a point, you have Ramadan. With Ramadan we have the last days of Ramadan, we have Laylatul Qadr, alhamdulillah, then we have the 6 days of Shawwal, then we have the first 10 of the superiority of these first 10 days, the best deeds that Allah loves in these 10 days. Yom Arafah is next Friday, incidentally. If you're not going to fast any of these days, okay, then make sure you fast on Friday. There's an expiation of 1 year before, sins of 1 year before, and 1 year after. 1 day of fasting, subhanAllah. Look at the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And try and do as much good deeds as you can. Read Quran, do tasbih, you know, La ilaha illallah Muhammad sallallahu, you know, La ilaha illallah Muhammad sallallahu. Keep doing it all the time. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah al-azim. Make sure you do your dhikr, do your adhkar, and then you keep doing this constantly all throughout these days. And incidentally, any sins that you do in these 10 days will be double punishment for you as well. Allah choose to forgive you. The same way that any sins that you do at any other time, if you're in Mecca, for example, the punishment for a person who doesn't pray in Mecca is different than the punishment for a person who doesn't pray in Albania, for example, or a country that is forcing you difficulty on your deen, for example. And a sin in Mecca, Medina, is different than a sin in the Western country, because of the ease of which you can do it. So these 10 days is the deeds here that are the deeds that are best loved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you read the Quran. Again, these are the same thing. Ramadan, you say the same thing. Read Quran, brothers. Increase your dhikr. Make sure you try to memorize as much Quran. Try to do this, try to do that. Try to increase yourself in Iman. Try to use it as a stepping stone to move forward to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the 10 days will go and you ain't done nothing, then you say, okay, Ramadan's coming. You may not make Ramadan. You may not make the first day. So whatever opportunity that Allah gives you to worship Him, then worship Him. When a person says, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, you have signed a verbal contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you're not sincere, we're just saying that, you're just saying it, just saying it, then Allah will treat you as though you're just saying it. You think you pray Fajr because you're so proud that you pray Fajr? Allah has allowed you to get up and pray Fajr. What is the difference between a person who's worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Tawheed and a person worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Bid'ah? Allah's allowing you. Allah's allowing it. A person of Bid'ah will never make Tawbah unless Allah guides him, because they think it's on the haqq. A person who's sinning will say, Astaghfirullah, make dua for me. I'm a drinking, I'm a drug, I'm a hadith, make dua for me. No problem, I make dua for you. You don't go bashing the brother for a sin. But you say to him, brother, don't make your sin open. If you see a brother smoking and he's hiding, you say, brother, I saw you. Alhamdulillah, forgive me. Try to stop it. But don't go showing it anywhere else. No problem. He'll know. People of shahawat, people of shubuhat. People of shahawat, people of desire. We're all people of desire. We sin. And we ask God to forgive us all our sins. But a person of shahawat, people of shubuhat, people of doubt and bid'ah, they will never say, yeah, the bid'ah is wrong. Make dua for me. Because they think they're on the haqq. That's what they're doing it. Some parts of Pakistan, you do Rafal Yadain, they'll throw you up, probably kill you and shoot you. So you're Wahhabi, Wahhabi Qafar. Finished. Because the shepherds are the shepherds are the worst. The same thing we keep saying the leaders. Some of the shepherds like the leaders, the shepherds like the scholars are dodgy. So Allah's misguided them, and in turn the sheep are going to misguide who are under them. This is why you have to be sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wake up for tahajjud. If you can't do it once a month, once a week, then once a month. It's no biggie. If you're sincere and you want to do it, but you find it difficult, Allah will wake you up and let you do it. Allah will wake you up and let you do it. What are the questions?
Brother, I want to know, you see, there's brothers out there that want to go university and whatnot, but they're going there for the purpose of gaining knowledge, of course, and they can't afford to, and they take a loan and they can't afford to pay it back, but they charge interest, and they can't afford it. So, what would you say?
Well, obviously, you can't, can you?
So what?
The loan is interest, isn't it? It's £27,000 a year. By the time you're adopted, it's £50,000, I think. So on this point, it's a no-no. But then you say, how do I get a degree? Do an open university. Do something else. Try and find some other ways of doing it.
Well, there's some scholars that say it's not interest, it's tax.
Huh?
There's some opinion that says it's not interest, it's tax. Is it tax?
How is it tax?
I don't know. There's some scholars that don't.
If you're borrowing £27,000 and they say to you, you can pay it back when your first earnings go past 18,000 or something, whatever. Then you start paying it back. Do you pay back the £27,000 only? I don't know.
No,
There's interest.
Yeah.
That is interest.
No, but they're saying that you don't see the money. Basically, the money.
You do see. You get a quarterly payment. They pay you. They pay you term money. That's where it comes from. Before it used to be a grant. Now it's a loan. The grant they give you, they want it back. No problem. Thank you very much. No problem. But now it's £27,000 a year. And these things are not, to me, generally speaking, I'm saying no, because there's interest involved. So no. I don't know. The scholars can say it's not interest, it's tax. It doesn't make sense. Does it make sense to you?
No.
Does it make sense?
Assalamu
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
As you were saying earlier, like, when you're praying, once you start praying, all these forces are coming to them. Why advice have you got to purify it?
It's just to have humility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just concentrate. This is why when you see then the shaitan will go. I think his name is Jinsa, the shaitan's name. Specific shaitan, Khanza or Jinsa? I can't remember now. One of these two names, I can't remember. He's specific for that to come disturb you in your sleep. I'll give you hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Sahabas came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, we have these extreme bad thoughts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, do you really have these thoughts? He says, yes, this is real iman. What do you mean real iman? Meaning, he's not condoning the thoughts, but he's condoning that you don't want to have these thoughts. And Allah knows. You just concentrate as much as you can. No one is perfect. No one here is going to make... Who was the only person... Who was the only person who perfected 2 rakah salah? The only person. Besides Rasulullah. Anyone? Who? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And he said, I'll try to do it again, but he couldn't, because he was trying to perfect it the way he did the first one, so he'll never do it again. So no one's perfect. And Allah knows that. For example, a father to a son, a father to a daughter. I know most of your dads, and most of you young here, they've got big expectations of you. You have to be a doctor, you have to be this. But then I want to be an alim. What? An alim, you'll be backward. Don't be too hard on your fathers and mothers. They have fears. And these fears make them defensive. Because they went through hardship. But they don't realize that you're a different generation. That you're made from a different kind of metal. You know more than them in regards to street and what you can, how to survive. They came here, first generation, second generation, I don't know, some you can read third, fourth generation, and they scripted 2 jobs and then work day and night. So we have to give them haqq for that. So if they say to you, no, you've got to be a doctor, you've got to be, because they don't want you to struggle like they struggled. The only option says, Dad, I love you for really thinking about me. Don't get upset about it. Say, Mum and Dad, I love you, for that shows your sincerity. You want me to really achieve. But Dad and Mum, if I spend 3 years in uni and end up working in McDonald's, I won't say this happens, but that does happen. The way that society, the economic thing, like the Freemason Illuminati, they just change the economy like this. Everybody have a job tomorrow. That's why they give the paper, they make you chase the paper money, and they keep the gold and silver. So your fathers might want you to do good, but then, and then I end up on Judgment Day, I'm going to say to Allah, PhD. You think you'll end up in Jannah? British passport. And not only have I got a British passport, I'm dual national. It's not going to happen. What we do, we have to push ourselves towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the deen. Okay? We don't have to forget the dunya. But more importantly, because tomorrow we're going to die. Yani, we're already dead. We're just going through the motions. Okay? We're going through the means to an end. But we're already dead. Why? Because we're going to die. So we're already dead. We have to prepare for it. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul shall face the death. We know this. So we're already dead. We have to prepare for it. Are we ready to die? Are we preparing for our next exam, our PhD, our degree, our masters, our A-levels, our GCSEs, whatever it may be, our NVQs or whatever? How much are we preparing for that and how much are we preparing for our death? There's the reality. So don't be too hard on your parents. Mum, Dad, I love you. And I know that you're going to do well. And I will do well. I will do well. But learning the deen for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and showing sincerity, Allah will allow me to pass that exam. Allah will make it easy for me to get that exam. Allah will make it that a conduit for my rizq to go through that channel of dunya, because I'm showing sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this side. The same way where Ustadh, my dad says that I can't get married until I get my degree. But I really need to get married. You know what I mean. You have desires, 16, 15, 16, 17, 18. You want to get married? I say to them, get married. But my mum and dad, just tell them, Mum and Dad, I love you. I'm not being rude. I'm just being respectfully assertive. I love you, but if you love me, you will not throw me into the fitna when the whole purpose of me getting married is to prevent that fitna. Isn't it? So we have to, this is the reality, of put things in perspective. So no one is advocating being rude to your parents. Don't ever be rude to your parents. Rasulullah ﷺ said that there is nothing that can bring on the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more so than being disrespectful and rude to your parents. In the same light, nothing can bring you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than being respectfully and serving your parents. In the time of Rasulullah ﷺ, a man loved a woman and she was going to marry somebody else, and he killed her. He came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, I did this and that. What do I do? Is your parents alive? He says, no. He says, go and make tawbah and get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another Sahaba came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, I fail to see what the parents have to do with him killing, and just asking. And he said this, I don't know anything that will bring the person close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by serving your parents. So it's just about learning life skills and consoling your anger and your arrogance, because your parents were a conduit of you coming into this dunya. And Allah holds disrespect to parents as He holds shirk in the same light. So we have to be careful of this. If you don't know how to talk to your parents, you have to learn. You have to grow and become mature and talk to them straightly, man to man. I know it's not easy communicating with parents, just like it's not easy to communicate with your husband and wife and siblings. But this is something that we really, really have to learn. Life skills. And this is why I have workshops for this. And I said I was going to talk to brother, we need to have some workshops here for communication skills and things like that, more than just lectures. You know, anger management, introducing yourself to yourself, parenting skills, teaching skills, etc. One last question, inshallah.
Is there any way of telling if you're getting punished by Allah?
You'll see it in your children. You serve your parents, your children will serve you.
No.
You be disrespectful to your parents, your children will be disrespectful to you. That's why my son is kicking, so I'm flipping over my words. If you're disrespectful to your parents, your children will be disrespectful for you. And every punishment that Allah has given that we know of, the one that is definitely you're going to be punished for in this dunya will be disrespectful to your parents. And how is that? You'll see it in your own children. Allah is Al-Adl, the source of justice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not let him pass. You'd be rude to your parents? Just wait when you have kids. Yeah, but I'm not going to have kids, so I'm not going to. Yeah, we have to be really. And another hadith regarding this. You have to show mercy and respect to your parents, even if they are oppressive on you. So I know that I used to hear things and before, yeah, but mom does this, my dad does this, mom does this. Well, who are you to show justice to your parents? Who are we? Mum, you screamed at me, so I'm going to scream at you. You swore at me, so I'm going to scream at you. You made bed dua to me, I made bed dua to you. Our mums carried us in our wombs for 9 months and worried if we're going to be born whole, if we're going to be born, you know, safe and sound and perfect. And when we are given birth, you think the worry stops? Oh, alhamdulillah, my son and my daughter is okay. No, the worry hasn't begun yet. It's all throughout. All throughout. My mum likes to tease me, personally. You know, I'm 49 this year, but she likes to tease me as, you know, she's in her 70s, so I'm still her baby. I said, Mum, I'm 50 years old. She goes, I don't care, you're still a baby. And it's true. It doesn't matter how old you are, you're still your mother's and father's baby. It doesn't matter how old you are. If they say shut up, you shut up. It doesn't matter. I said, she says, them times used to come 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't always a good boy. Mum, how do you know? Because I never went to sleep until I heard the key in the door. Mum tells it to me now, just to give that little, you know, that little thing. I say, Mum, I apologise. But that lasts with me for a few days. Mums knows. Your mum will press your buttons. So if you wonder why you get upset with your mum, she's meant to upset you. She knows how to what buttons to press. Yeah, there you go. You start walking around like this. Because she knows which button to turn. She knows you. She knows you better than your dad knows you. You are from her flesh. You are from her flesh, not from your dad's flesh. You're from your dad's nutfa. Of your mum, you're from her flesh. So what hurts you hurts her. So if your mum's screaming at you, or she's telling you to do this because of her fears for you, her worries for you, her this for you. Doesn't make sense now. Just like my mum said to me, wait till you have children of your own, and then you will know. And you know what? That should be written in gold and put up on every single masjid. Your parents say to you that wait till you have children and you will see is a true statement. And everyone should be carrying it in their mobile phone and reading it like dhikr. Because that's exactly what it is. When you have kids, you'll know. Trust me, it's true. It's true, it's a cycle of life. Allah Ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah for this talk. Jazakumullah for you to attend. We still have some days left, as the brothers have mentioned. May Allah give us benefit from these talks. Give us forgiveness, give us sincerity, and make us meet in Jannah. Assalamu alaikum.